All right. Yeah. So we got 6 here now, including me. So why don't we just jump in? Okay. So if you've not been here for one of these classes before, what we do is we divide into even groups. We've got 2 leaders for our drafts today. We've got Michael and Zach leading the drafts. And as we're in the draft, feel free to. It's nice that we've got small-ish group today, not too many cooks, but. I think the way we'll lead it is just, Michael and Zach, as they're leading the draft, they're going to talk out the packs. If anybody has any objections or questions or whatever, just feel free to shove them in there. It shouldn't be, too big of an issue, I don't think. And, you've got the final say, people in the driver's seat, of course. And then afterwards, we will come back, we'll debrief, we'll talk about the draft logs, and, that'll be the class.
Awesome.
Before we start, anybody have any emergent or hot takes about their experiences in the last week or so?
We were just talking about how white seems like it's starting to get a little cut.
Yep, I've noticed that too.
Yeah, I've been on a streak of success in the Mardu color space, but have been shifting a little more towards red and black and away from white as my go-to main color. But
yeah, so who knows? And it's funny, I don't know how much I always think about this. It's the weekend. Does that matter? Is there going to be less in the know people, more casual drafters on the weekend? But who knows?
I think it is true to some extent that the tables are a bit softer on weekends, but I don't think it's super reproducible.
Yeah, and it's hard to say what pod you're going to be in, right? So
exactly. Well, with the play-in too, it might be even a little bit more pronounced.
I did not realize that was going on.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, so why don't we get started?
For all of you who are trying to qualify for glory.
NCAA matched against the gold player today, so probably not a lot of players. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I matched against the silver player last night. I'm in diamond, so.
20 minutes later.
Yep. Oh, I see it now.
All right,
great. That is my draft.
Yep. There we go, there. That one. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So,
that's fine.
One. And for the first few picks, it'll be pretty straightforward, I think. I wasn't here for them, but, I imagine it will be. If anybody has any objections or thoughts, feel free. So
I'd be thinking about Jahira here.
I would be too. Jahira's awesome. Yeah. I would still take Humiliation, but Jahira is very, very good.
Yeah, that was exactly the discussion we had.
Yeah.
Sweet. No proponents of Belt of Giant Strength?
Well,
one time I've ever seen
wanted to be.
All right, we're gonna.
There's not a fling in this format, is there?
Is there a fling?
No,
it's not
there's Minsk and Boo.
Oh.
Right.
But you got to give it trample or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You wait.
No.
You can sack anything.
No, you don't draw cards. Is it haste
and
trample or haste or trample?
No. You're mistaken. You don't draw cards if it's not a hamster.
Oh.
You can't put counters on it unless it has haste and trample.
Haste and trample.
Oh, okay.
Haste or trample to put counters on it, but you need to draw cards if it's a hamster. Yeah, really funny card.
Yeah. I mean, they honestly, it's fine. I think it works.
So this sounds interesting. So I can think that I could point out maybe 3 cards in this pack that are, I think, better than Soldier at the Watch, right? And we're making a concession here to obviously white being good and us having a white card. Would anybody take anything in the neighborhood of Owlbear, Rabble Rouser, even Owlbear Shepherd if you were so inclined? Or I think Deadly Dispute is worse, but
I think if I'm taking a green card, it's going to be the Owlbear.
Yes, I agree.
It's Shepherd.
I agree.
Yeah.
Rabble Rouser is a consideration. I think white is enough better than red. And if I have red, I'd prefer to pair it with white. That I'd probably just take the white card.
Our Mikeless contributor here says they would take the Rabble Rouser. So yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I think and they're just saying that white has been cut, and I think that's a fine concession to make. In general, right? These days we were noting that.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault a Rabble Rouser, but I think that it's not sidestepping the problems of getting out of white as much as.
It's not, thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just had it known, so I do appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. Sweet. Welcome. I'm ready to say it.
And that's exactly the discussion we had in the pod was, Rabble Rouser, slightly better, Owlbear, slightly, there's several cards that are slightly better, none that felt so much better that we would go off taking another white card, but that you can make a reasonable case for any of them, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, my gut does say take Rabble Rouser. Honestly, like if I'm thinking about this for a little while, well, I don't know if that's my gut, but I do think I would take the Rabble Rouser here. And this is one of those like really tricky picks where it's like I can make arguments for any of them here, right? And I don't think it's like truly wrong anyway. But you know my inclination would just be take Rabble Rouser.
And that's like I was saying, I haven't drafted any at all in the last couple of days, and I feel like earlier in the week, you'd have gotten away with the Soldier of the Watch and like just the little slight shift that now maybe edges towards Rabble Rouser or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I
guess
think
that's
white. Sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, my question is: are you saying Rabble Rouser because of that? Like that you're at this point wanting to skew slightly away from white, or are you saying that because regardless of that you'd pick Rabble Rouser?
Yeah.
Alex.
So I think it's really tough. So a week ago, or like whatever, a few days ago, I would say a Soldier of the Watch, or because I have Humiliation, it's worth taking Soldier of the Watch because like yes, it's a hit in power, but like having 2 white cards is good, and both these cards are pretty good. I think now it's shifted just slightly to say that white is not open enough to the point where I don't want to be taking a slightly worse white card when it's, Soldier of the Watch, which is good, not amazing though, over what I think is the better card. Very, very subtle, right? It's like by like a hair is the thing.
Yeah.
So like if this was like let's say a slightly better white card, I'm not even like a Hippogriff or a Priest, like that's too, like a Dawn Guard, right? The 3/1. That buffs something. I would probably take that, but my thought here is I think this is a little bit too weak to take over this. Given I think if this is a better card, and given I think red is a decent place to be now.
So don't to try and summarize, like avoid like taking a step down in power to stay in a better color if you're also in an environment where that color is maybe over.
Yes, exactly. Because the reason you don't want to step down in power is because you expect to see more of that good color later, and that's less likely to happen if you think it's not going to happen. All right.
Yeah, white's not free anymore.
Next pack here. Thoughts here?
I think I might take Lenorm here.
I think I would too. Yeah. I think that Fire Beetle's cool and it's good, and I can it's the second best card in this pack, but I do think Lenorm's like a step above. I personally really like green white. I think Lenorm's just really, really hard to deal with, and just like a monster, and very good in a lot of games.
It is hard.
So yeah, we that was another one where we went back and forth on this one a little bit, and we're not, like they're pretty close.
Yep.
I don't know. I think Fire Beetles is a little underrated. I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, all the double team cards are good, obviously. This one is not as good as like Rabble Rousers maybe, and some of the like the 2 drops. I won a lot of games just by putting 4 or 5 Fire Beetles in play, and just them being just impossible to deal with.
So let me ask you this then, to Ben Werner you here. Like are you taking? I agree. I like Fire Beetles quite a bit. Are you taking Fire Beetles here because you want to get into red-white, or are you taking it because you think it is better than Lenorm?
I think that they are of a similar power level, and that this goes better with the red-white cards we have.
With the white cards you have here. Yeah, that's fair. I guess I would just say that I think even in green-white, these cards are quite good as well. Yeah. And like I don't think they're that much better. If they are better in red white, it's not by enough that would personally sway my decision. So
really, like I kind of see Humiliation as being like no better.
I agree that Humiliation wants cheap creatures, so I agree in the sense that Fire Beetles does a little bit better with our current stuff. I disagree with them being comparable in power level. I think that Lenorm is in a power band that's substantially above the Fire Beetles, which would sway me.
Yeah, I think that's the general like opinion, and probably the stats back that up. But I do think they are closer in power level, and that seeing and just red's always open. I don't know. That's
that's fair. Also, like to Andrew's point here, I think that's worth addressing too. It's like, is humiliation better in aggressive decks? And I think generally I don't see it that way. Like, it's good in high creature count decks, but most
yes,
of my
but also it's just great everywhere.
I think most of my like non-aggressive decks still have high creature counts.
Good in limited decks with creatures in them.
That's my thought,
Yeah.
but
So
I don't know.
limited decks.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird card in Strixhaven.
It would be a weird card in Strixhaven. That is true. Yeah, you would have as many creatures in the battlefield early. All right, so we move on from that, and we take Hobgoblin Captain here. So we're going down the same path after we've taken Giant Fire Beetles, and this is
Another Linarm.
Yeah, another Linarm. Here's where it gets
Yeah.
interesting, where it's like, all right, so if you think, if we're going down Zach's path here, where Fire Beetles and Linarm are close, you might as well take the Captain, because Captain, is I ostensibly close to Linarm as well, right? I do think, like Michael's saying here, I would take the second Linarm here, just because I do think it is a step above. But Captain's great in red white. Like, all the 3 power 2 drops are really good, so I think it's a fine thing to do as well.
I think in the context of what we've done already, I agree with this pick.
Yep, that's fair. Now we take either Soldier of the Watch. Yep, I like that.
I might want Kobold Warcaller over it. I'm not sure how I'm prioritizing these sorts of things, but I do think Warcaller is good, and it's especially good with double team stuff.
Yeah.
So our discussion on this was that white is likely to be more cut, and I would rather get soldiers because we will probably get Warcallers if we want them.
Right.
I think I agree that white's likely to be more cut, but I don't think that logic follows. I think if white is more likely to be cut, I think I'm more inclined to try to get deeper into red so I can get away from white if it looks like I'm not seeing any of it.
That makes sense. I think that there's a lot of cases where it's just like my first 3-4 picks out of each pack are white.
That's fair.
Even when it's not open, and that
sometimes, it
cobbles
just
it together
lines
as
up
a second color that's still really good.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I like Warcaller a lot, but I don't want like 3 of them.
I almost want to, as much as I am loath to do, default to what NCAA would do here, and I know NCAA would take Warcaller. I think his thought is that it's just like one of the actual best. If you are red white, one of the best commons you can have, and you do want multiples, like.
It just sets up all your stuff.
Yeah, and especially when you have
It
double
just
teams.
makes it so all your top decks just
really, really good. Yeah, I think I agree with the
powers
Warcaller.
up your future draws so much.
Yeah.
I must just be too low on it. Like, it's not that I hate it. I see it wheel and stuff.
I just know
don't
that we're
prioritize
going to
it.
wheel them,
That's
honestly.
a good point, too. That's a good argument against it. But yeah, really close.
And I think it does wheel here.
It literally does. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yes, because no.
You guys needed the threaten.
No, I'm trying to remember now because this was my pick one. But I think it was pack 2. Do you remember? Because we were looking at a pack where it was like we were thinking about Provocation or Warcaller. Do you remember that, Egley?
Let's see. Yeah, Provocation Warcaller is in pack 1.
Oh, maybe it was this then.
I will say in favor of Zach's argument here, I do think that there's something to be said for, even if you believe or you have an inkling or you're trying to read into like how cut or not cut a certain color is, like white in this case, I do think there is an argument to be made for just taking white cards early on, because even if you do think in some percentage of drafts white's cut, like you'll never end up in white if you don't take the white cards early on. So
yeah,
I think
it's fair. Just sort of skim the cream off the top.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's
with
reasonable.
whatever
too.
other color is open.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's kind of what I have been doing my past few drafts, is that like, there are a couple other white drafters, but I just got good white cards for the first 3-4 picks of each pack, and then fill them in with red or black.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, it's a strategy that works when the packs cooperate, which they don't always.
Yeah. There's just so much good white.
We move on to this pretty unexciting pack. I think you could take most of these.
Paladin.
Yeah,
over
Paladin's
Rite
maybe a
Farewell.
bit
I
better.
just haven't valued Farewell. At first, I thought it would be good, but it just doesn't seem to be.
I have never cast it.
One thing that kind of sucks is that I found out the hard way you can't actually cycle it on your opponent's creature.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know
Oh.
that. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Well, no, it makes sense because they wanted to avoid you being able to put it on something that is just going to die. Like you cycle it on their creature and then you
get
kill
the
their
boon.
creature and you get the boon.
Yeah.
I think was a play pattern they were trying to avoid.
They didn't want to give your opponent's creatures a valiant farewell.
Yeah, exactly.
I
They
agree,
just-
though.
yeah.
I think Paladin would be my
But-
pick.
Yeah,
But yeah, that
I will say
just
the
hasn't
red
performed
version of
for
it,
me.
the Unexpected Allies, is sort of my pet card of the set. I don't think it's necessarily good, but I've had a lot of fun with it.
It's a card that every time I've seen cast, I'm just like, oh, that's really good here. And like I know that might just be the spots that I've seen it in and my opponents have,
It can definitely get stuck in your hand.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's stuck in your
Yeah,
hand. You only see
yeah.
it when it's good. But
so bad.
it
when
has
you're
been
behind. Like
it
if
has
you
been
don't have
good.
attacks.
Yeah, if you don't have attacks, it doesn't give first strike.
It's just I don't like it because it's a card that like brings you slightly more it's.
I cast it
it's
on an
the
ancient copper
epitome of-
dragon, then rolled a 20, and then cast 8 spells, including
Well-
another ancient copper dragon. I would say that's the high side of variance,
Well,
especially rolling the 20.
Matt and chat saying here
that
that casting on the 5/5 red dragon, the wrathful dragon.
But I also just like casted on beetles,
yeah,
you know,
fair.
and swung with a 4/2, made draw 2 more beetles.
It just it just sort of fails. It's one of those cards that kind of fail in theory. So it's like just something. that I don't think
you need
is
them to not have
prioritizable.
mana open. You need, you
you
know,
know what I mean?
you
It's
need to
just-
have an
it's just
attack.
the
There's a lot of
situation.
reasons it's not good.
I think it's we're mostly talking about like, oh, it's cool here, not so much it's good here,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for
I
sure.
do think
mean,
think going to
having
this
to
pack
pop
here,
off and make 40 mana is great.
I
Love
think
it.
that Paladin is the better pick here, just because I found it to play pretty well to double team cards. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
good with menace, pretty
It's,
good.
Yeah, I mean,
unicorn at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a
Paladin
note on the
has gotten
farewell.
compared to AFR, it's one of the cards that actually I think has gotten better.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the farewell. The numbers on it are better than you'd expect. So it looks like some of the best white decks are running it, and it's one of the worst cards in those decks. So it's got like almost 57% game in hand, but it's in decks where game played rate is like 58 points. So games not
Yeah.
drawn is like 59.6. So some people who are doing well are playing it.
If you're forcing white aggro and it's your 23rd card because you were
Yeah,
well
I
on
think that's
playables, you're still doing well overall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is we're looking at Sam's.
Yeah, Sam's data exactly.
Yeah, basically.
Small Sam. All right, we move on. We take an Iron Golem, which is what I would take here. It's a good place
Sure.
to take it.
Although that is, I think, an argument for having taken the war color.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes future Iron Golems better.
Yeah.
Take War
You
Golem.
need to enable your iron golems, right?
Take a Fireball. Yeah, I was here for this part, and we kind of just like noted decent blue cards, but not anything worth taking here.
That's every draft, though. It's like, oh, these blue cards look okay. They're not as good as what we have.
Yep. We took 20 gems. We took improvised weaponry here. We took another Iron Golem, archery. This was kind of I noted that a lot of times I've been in like white red and then pivoted into white green, and I found archery to be like a fine card if you're already like a base white aggressive, like a white aggressive base. I think it's a fine card.
Both strength at home.
Yeah, both strength at home.
Oh no, that war collar didn't wheel. I guess this is the one that wheels.
Yeah, this one didn't wheel, so maybe in a later pack or something.
Yeah.
There's another pack later that has a here. This
Gotcha.
is the one with a provocation and war color.
So we make it out of pack one, like. with
Oh,
some stuff.
wow. I'm looking at this pack, and okay, there literally was only a Thieves' Tools is the only black card in this pack.
Yeah, looks like.
There was one black card and one white card in this pack.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very teamer
Okay.
pack.
That does shine some light on why this pack was so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we snapped off the Mazzy here because
We took
didn't
the
want
rare.
it.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually a good kind of like something to back up.
This was the one we were talking about provocation
Right,
for
yes.
Color. It looks like those are just in a print run together.
So this is good. Like this pack comes around to you guys, but spoiler alert, they're in black, white-ish. It looks to you could be like, oh, we're getting cut, and it's just like, no, this was just the pack,
Right.
like
I think that was a conversation we had.
totally.
We talked
Yeah.
about that.
We take Hippogriff. Yep, agree with that. We take Rabble Rouser. Agree with that. So we're going on the red-white train. Now we get to this pack, and we get Thane and Invokers here, and this is one I kind of advocated for because I don't think anything else in this pack is very good, and I could see a world where we're like splashing it off treasure, or I was saying maybe we don't even end up with red or white as well. I guess red would be the color, but white as our base color here.
Invokers is one of Blue's just actual straight up bombs.
It's really good. Yeah,
It's awesome.
Really good. So yeah, I does anybody have any objections to taking? Would they take anything else out of this pack instead?
Out of this pack, no.
Yeah, I think that's where we were ending up as well. Was just that like that is a very good card, and I don't know what the odds are. We end up playing it, but like it's better than everything else here.
Our other option is a 2-mana 2/2.
Yeah, exactly. 2 minutes easy, or the axe, I suppose, which is whatever.
I think that axe. I would prefer to never put that axe in my deck.
We take Hunting Party here, and
I thought we took the cleric, didn't
so
we?
did I. Yeah, I thought so too. That's so funny that this
Cleric?
is
Stonecaller?
Oh no,
Or do you mean
that was later.
Paladin?
That was later.
Paladin.
I think we
Did we wheel it?
Yeah.
there was different. No.
There's another one.
We were flirting with black a bit later, and I think
Oh.
So we took War Party here. We talked about Stick Together, which I found to be pretty decent actually. Like it is a rat most of the time, and it's a pretty decent one. It gets
There
around.
are some board states where it just is a plague wit, but the bad kind.
Yes, that is true. But sometimes
Sometimes the good kind.
sometimes the good kind, exactly. So we take the Hunting Party here. Here's where we take Black Dragon, and this is where I kind of was like, actually no. So we were thinking, do we take Prophetic Prism here? Maybe we splash the Thane Invokers in a red-white deck. And I was thinking, well, we haven't really taken a great white card in a while. I mean, we took Hippogriff, but I don't think white's that open. What if we're just move into black red and we splash the Invokers there? And I thought like that might be a decent path. I don't know. Anybody else? Would they take Prism here? Stay the course?
I think it's pretty reasonable when we look at this pack and we see 0 red or white cards, right? It's like, okay, well, let's, to speculate on something else seems pretty reasonable.
I think so.
I think I'd rather take just a good card than a Prophetic Prism. I think Prophetic Prism is just like, unless you have specific things that you're like doing with it, like I don't want Prophetic Prism really unless I have like Deadly Disputes or Baba Yaga,
and certainly not in your red-white aggro deck.
value out of it. Yeah, exactly. Just because if we stay in red-white aggro, Prophetic Prism is like such a blank, such a dud of a card.
Totally.
Or Thank You Artificers. If we
Yeah,
wanna
Thank You
go-
Artificers.
If we live in an alternate universe where blue is substantially better.
Similar thoughts here. We just take a Windfall because maybe we do move into black red here. And this is where we take the Cleric, right? Where I was thinking, okay, well, my thought here was, well, how much do we want to jump ship here? We could just take the Beatles, and I think that's pretty reasonable too.
I disagree with this kid. I think I would just take a red card here. Probably Beatles.
It's interesting.
We're probably going to be red if we're...
Yeah,
I don't see a reason to take a perfectly bad black 2-drop instead of a perfectly good red card.
in retrospect, I completely blame Alex for derailing us.
Yeah, that seems right. That's good. I think we should talk a little bit about the ways in which Alex has disappointed us before we move on.
I think so too. so yeah, I think like my thoughts here were just that like my read on this draft so far was just that white was being like super cut, and I just think that if I am to choose a card for my red black deck, which I am assuming I'm going to be drafting, to be honest, given the rest of this pack, I think the Cleric is better than Fire Beetles when I've got Black Dragon and Evokers that I'm probably going to play. So I don't know. I think it's totally. This is certainly a safe pick. You know, if you're worried about making playables at that point. But I just thought Cleric would be decent in this deck.
I just don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. I just don't think Cleric is good.
Well, Cleric's very much a function of the cards in your deck, and I think we already have pretty good cards to get back. Is all. You know, that's all.
Maybe.
Maybe. I
It's
don't know.
it's like I feel like summon undeads are kind of free and
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I just it's like I just don't want to put it in my deck, basically.
I'm not quite there. I do think it had the spot, but I think Fire Beetles will be a
that-
fun pick here,
Yeah, I
too.
think that we just vary on whether we think it's fine, slightly below average filler, or just like,
Yeah. I think Andrew, you got there's some like loud interference. I'm not sure if it's a fan.
let me 1 sec.
No worries. I just didn't want everybody to have to yell, that's all. It's not a huge issue. It wasn't like deafening us or anything. You back?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
better. Okay,
it
cool.
is much better.
Take a ghoul. Yep. And this is where we like flirt with black a little bit. War color does wheel, so that gets in the pile there. Take a Mirror of Life 20 gem dice. Well, I think I would take. I wasn't here for this pick, but any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think I like the second War Color
Oh yeah.
over the 20 gems.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I'll never say don't take a gem pick, but I think that these are good enough cards that I would speculate on them making my deck is all.
Mirror of Life Trapping is such a funny card.
Take a Robber, take a Manticore. All right. Okay, so now we get into the spot of what are we doing in pack 3?
Yep.
And I think it's just like take good cards and figure it out later, which is basically what we did. We take Rasad. Yeah, I think that's definitely the pick here. It's the best card by a lot. We take a Hobgoblin Captain. Taking red cards, I think, is definitely a good idea as well. We take a Fire Beetles here. Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah. But both of these two, we discussed the Sewer Plagues, and then we're like, well, we should take the red card.
That's interesting. Matt actually says on Valor Singer here over the captain. I like Valor Singer a lot. I think Valor Singer did get better from AFR. I would go with the 2-drop here if they're like, I don't know. I just think that like we're a bit shy on them currently. That would be the concession I make. I think these are close to equivalent cards, honestly, but I would go with the 2.
I think I'm on Captain over Valor Singer still.
Yeah, close picks though. Firebeal, yep.
I think there's a conversation to be had about craving.
Oh yeah.
And about this card, yeah, I would just
Yeah, we just have a bunch of 2s, so it just seems fine. It's just like suit up a 2 and start sending it in. I know the stats have gotten a lot worse, but I don't know. I still think it's a good card.
I would say that we've got a bunch of 2s, but they're all kind of in different colors, so we don't actually have that many 2s. Like no matter what our base 2 colors are, we're only gonna end up with like 4 or 5 2s.
All right,
Yeah.
sure. I don't know. I think craving is worth.
Yeah, I think the
looking
card's
at.
fine.
Yeah.
I think it's worse than Beatles here, but
We did talk about cravings for a minute there, but yeah.
yeah, like Matt says, it does play pretty well in the Hobgoblin Captains, eh?
Yeah, it's not bad with Fire Beetles as well.
All right, we take a Pilgrim's Eye here. Guess we're in emergency mode. We have to be able to cast some number of our cards to take the Pilgrim's Eye. I would just take, I don't know, I think I would take the Black Dragon here. Like, I would be on Black Red Splash the Rasad in the
I just want to
humiliation.
thank you guys for not taking the Black Dragon here.
Oh, man, what's wrong with taking the Black Dragon here?
Well, if you take the Black Dragon here, it doesn't get floated to me.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, you did get it really late. I think you got it, like, you're on the other side of the table here.
8th pick Black Dragon on Impact 3.
We take a Prophetic Prism. I might just take the Fireball here.
Yeah, I think I'm on Fireball.
Dispute's
I
nice.
still don't think we're like, I don't know. I just don't think we're likely to play the Black.
Wait, what was the last one?
necessarily.
Sorry, which one?
Okay, so you take the dispute there.
Yeah, Dispute
Okay.
here. That makes sense to me. Take an Imp over a Twinga. Take a Null Camp, whatever. Take a Barbarian. I think the rest of the pack didn't have much, whatever. Medium black and white cards. So, I don't know. This one's interesting. I maybe had a slight hand in derailing the draft when I was like, oh, you guys could be black, and then I left the room. But my thought here, and feel free to disagree or have any amount of discussion about this, but my thought here was just that like my read was that white just wasn't open, and not to say that I wanted to like absolutely jump ship, but unless I saw more good white cards, I was kind of like, all right, well let's my baseline from that point is, let me be something else. And I think the black lane like kind of presented itself to me here, and That's what I would try to do, and maybe splash some white cards. But I don't know. It sounds like some other people would have just stayed the course in the red-white lane.
Well, I don't see, other than the Black Dragon pick, like I just don't see where, like it's not like we were passing Guildsworn Prowlers or anything.
Totally.
And like, I think it was a rough draft. Probably, I think we would have been better off if we started green, like you're saying for Lenorn.
Yeah.
Or Lenorm. I think it obviously would have taken a very different course, but yeah. So maybe we got off to kind of a slightly off course start, but
I'm curious what would have happened if we did. I mean, obviously, like you can't. If you change what you did in the draft, then different things would happen. So who knows?
Yeah.
But like, I remember early on seeing those two lit arms and going like, "Ooh, maybe we should be green white," and then never ever in the rest of the draft thinking like, "Oh, I wish we had taken that green card."
that there was great green cards, yeah.
But then your belted giant strength would only be 3 to equip.
Yeah. I think we saw like fine. There's like a couple of owlbears like that, I think that would have been a fine deck, but I don't know that's necessarily a better spot than where we ended up in.
So yeah, we take the green cards, like those 2 green cards, and there wasn't really much else for pack 1. Maybe we take Innkeeper instead of Hippogriff here. That's like something you can consider. And like you take Herd Gorger here. Maybe this pack is still the same. Yeah, and then maybe we stick together as we're in like a slower green-white deck or something. Yeah. So.
And then the white gets cut, and then we're
one mic in it at some point.
Yeah, was there a mic in it? I don't know. I don't remember seeing one. Maybe it was in pack 3.
One.
Oh, there's one. Mic in it, but we'd probably take Jaheira. That's kind of close. It depends on.
This
what
draft definitely didn't have like a clear path. I think Mykin is a better card than Jaheira.
That depends on like in pack 3. It depends on what you're doing, right? It depends on where you are. Like it depends on your curve. It depends on whatever.
Just like in the abstract,
Sure,
if you say you are drafting green in this draft, do you want to Mykin it or Jaheira? I think I usually want to Mykin it.
Yeah, that is fair. Yeah, really interesting.
I did have a thought about Belt of Giant Strength, which is that in a set where you have a substantial 1/1 counters theme, Belt of Giant Strength actually is like a coherent card to want to put in a set to do something interesting, because the power increase is relevant if you have a bunch of creatures with a bunch of counters on them,
right?
Which I think is what green white did in part in the Commander paper version of this.
You're right.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it makes sense.
That's why
as a card you might want in a set.
Right.
So I think that's why it exists.
And that didn't shine through until the end of the set, apparently. So yeah, very strange. Very, very strange. But yeah.
Anyway,
like, I don't know. It was like I think pack 2 is where it got really interesting, where there was multiple packs in a row. There just like wasn't a ton that you like, no clear direction at all. And I think it's kind of like, obviously it's what you make of it here. You kind of have the choice of like, do I just stay the course? Do I kind of dip into other colors? And I don't know. It depends on your comfort level in navigating this draft format, a draft in general. Like, I think my influence on this draft was, well, I'm pretty comfortable navigating and like getting myself into some trouble and working my way out of it potentially. And then like, maybe that's not the right path. If like you just want to take cards of the same color and have a more functional deck. Like my draft strategy is more, I take some higher risk picks with higher rewards. And then like, if it doesn't work out, I mean, usually it works out because I can find my way out of it. But if you have a tougher time doing that, I'm not saying this draft in particular, there was an easy way out of it. But that's why I would have wanted to take the black cards, is all.
I would describe your actions as sort of a mentorly punt off a diving board.
Yeah, you could do this. No, it's like it's like putting somebody on the high board when they've only done the 3 meter before.
Okay, I'm gonna pull your water wings off.
Yeah.
Climb up there.
Yeah.
Do a flip.
Not to say that Zach does not have draft experience, but yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was that draft. Really interesting. Let's go to the slightly.
Some people prefer not to pivot as much.
Right. That's another thing too. Right. That's like there's a comfort level in pivoting, and some people just like don't like in good drafters. Right. I'm not saying this is like a leak by any means. I'm just saying this.
Right.
Some good drafters just like never do, and not never, but like very rarely will.
Yeah.
I mean, I think had we seen a Kalane or a Skullport merchant, opened up in pack 3 or something like that, then the black-red splashing path pays off huge and is awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the
so
packs
like
just
I
didn't
totally
necessarily cooperate with you guys. Like you were
like
never
I think
really
it was
offered,
Alex was
like,
correct that like white is super cut. It
Mhm.
seems like there are good black, black is available, and then there just like weren't black cards in the pack
Yeah.
3, the first
For
couple
sure.
packs, they just weren't opened.
Yeah, I think
For
that,
sure.
that was the tricky part about this draft, because we identified in the middle of it that it was like, okay, something's funky. We can't just keep doing what we're doing. And then like we were open to the idea of doing something else, but something else never really came. And then it turned out that like the medium red and white cards might have just been better.
Mhm.
Like I think it's reasonable to be like, oh, have your be alert to another path, but then it never came, and we should maybe.
Yeah, I think if you go
know.
back and you added 2 more Hobgoblin Captains, a Valor Singer, and a Warcaller,
Yeah.
like that we passed, then we were just like, oh yeah, we got a fine, red white aggro deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you set yourself up to grab a hold of something that never came your way.
Yeah, and another note on the jumping ship into black, or we could either talk about this in pack 3, but in pick 2 on pack 3, we passed a Deadly Dispute, Saravok, and Guildsworn Prowler, and you picked Deadly Dispute. The other 2 cards were picked by the 3 players between us, so some other players moved into black.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great observation, and it's nice to know that we you never really know that unless you have 2 people in the same draft pod, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this pack was very stacked with black cards.
Yeah. I remember I was with you guys for this pack. I remember you were like, "Holy
Yeah,
crap!"
and I was surprised we didn't get the dispute back.
All right, let's look at the other draft. And like I said, this one will probably go a bit quicker.
Yeah,
We'll
this
look
one. This one we had. I mean, there were interesting picks, but we definitely had like a much clearer path to.
So, Merchant versus Hippogriff is really the pick here, and we kind of all agreed that Merchant was the pick. Like, I don't know. I think this card is a better card than Hippogriff, even though Hippogriff is white. So I don't know. Anybody?
I don't know that. Well, I don't even know that starting white is like something I'm like actively happy about at this point in the format.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like I was saying before, where it's like I mean, I'm happy to do so, but you just have to know that it's not like I should start white. Like we're at the point in the format where color like strength and preference. It's not so much that I start white, I'm going to get good white cards because people don't know. Like I'm not going to get the share of good white cards because people don't know yet. White is still good, but like it's not just automatically a boon to start white. That's
Yeah. White's not free.
Yeah, white's not free. That's exactly it. So we take the Merchant.
Yeah,
Similar power level cards.
cards.
We take Minthara over Duskguard, basically, but
yeah.
Minthara plays well.
My thinking was I think Minthara's overall more powerful, and we already have a black card in our pile.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Dispute, just keeping the sacrifice train, treasure train rolling.
Yep.
Goes in starting intensity tribal over here.
Yeah.
Prowler. Yep. This is
I think there's obviously an argument for humiliation, but my thought was that we just
take the black
better
card.
to take black than try to get into a second color.
Yep. Hard to
or try to split the difference.
Take a white 2-drop.
Then we split the difference.
Yeah. Interesting. This is an interesting one. Pilgrim's Eye over Deadly Dispute.
My thinking there was I don't see a reason to get into red because we already have a couple white cards. Deadly Disputes. I mean, Deadly Disputes. I do not think stack super well. Like I think that I think they have diminishing returns.
I kind of feel like it's offset by the fact that they generate a treasure, right? Like,
yeah, I think they play fine together. To be honest,
I don't know. I just think that like if you just have like my concern is that sometimes you just get a bunch of Deadly Disputes and not enough actual stuff that does something. So your deck is full of a little bit too much air, and you just don't have enough like cheap cards to be sacking the disputes, and just sort of recycling them for treasure is like, okay, well you're just spending your mana in your turn drawing cards and not affecting the board.
Yeah,
and you fill up your deck with too much of that stuff, it can just lead to a deck that's a bit too much air if you can't actually.
I mean, Pilgrim's Eye is pretty airy as well. I mean, no pun intended with Flyer, but
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's actual piece. It's an actual thing on board. That
Yeah, I mean, it does exist on the
I
board,
definitely
yeah.
have ended up in cases where I have disputes and not stuff I and like all my 2-drops are good. I don't really want to sacrifice them to deadly dispute, but I do think still like once you do the first one, sacrificing the treasure to keep it in the chain going works really well.
As far as the pass no black cards, I think that the value of just hard cutting a color is just not. Hard cutting a color, I think, is just not necessarily that valuable in this day and age. Like, people are just going to get into what they're going to get into, and just like cutting hard to get set up for pack 2 is like, people are just going to have opened what they open, and I think it's just better to, take a card that you think is better in your deck. I think there's an argument about disputes, but
I think that my thought here, like, with everything that's being said about, not worrying about having too much air, and like, I totally agree with that. I would say that one, Deadly Dispute almost doesn't have that issue, just because like it almost automatically gives you like your mana back, and you're like, so you're not really paying too much of a cost of like taking the turn off or anything. Like, yes, you do need an initial thing to sacrifice, but it can get you out of some kind of sticky situations where you need some, you need some velocity. And 2, like, I think Deadly Dispute isn't so much like an air card, because I think that the ceiling on the card, when you have good things to sack, like when you're in the opposite world of like, oh, I actually have things actively good to sacrifice, like it becomes really powerful. So I would just like take it here with the thought of like I can like optimize on it. I just think Pilgrim's Eye, while fine here, is a little bit like too middle ground here, where I think you can really have a ceiling on Dispute as well. But
fair enough. I think dispute is just dispute being very powerful is predicated on having enough cheap sack fodder that you.
I think you're already set up for that, honestly. Like, I think you've already got a pretty good spot for that. But
fair enough.
Small agree to disagree here. We take an ambush over whatever.
Nothing.
Ambush like actually isn't the worst here. It's with like we've got Minthara, if that really you care about that, and you got a few things to save, and here's I think I would take the Deadly Dispute again here. I think the first one.
Yeah, this one was close, and I think we definitely had like a. This was actually, I think, like a bit of an in-depth discussion, and I think in hindsight, I absolutely liked having a Deadly Dispute. We wound up never getting a second Deadly Dispute, and just like having passed a bunch of back one.
We take
and the numbers on the portable hole are not as high as you would expect either.
Oh no, I don't think it's very good. I just
we weren't gonna play it, so yeah.
Take a gems pick, take a Manticore, which is fine with a bunch of trinkety stuff. Like, it's not a card I love, but it's a card I've played as my 23rd in these kind of decks where I've got a bunch of like stuff on the ground, trinkety stuff.
What about Squadron?
The logic there was that I'd rather have a bad 4-mana card than a bad 6-mana card.
I think so. I found Squadron just to be not very good, honestly. Like, I think it's really, really clunky.
I think that double team drops off with increased mana value really, really sharply. Like, I would say it's almost like the adding a mana to the cost of a double team card like halves its power every time you do it.
I see it as more of a like I guess I understand the downside, or I think I do, but I see it as more like, yes, you do get really punished if they have the removal.
Well, it's not even having the removal. It's paying 6 mana for a 3/4 flyer that has to be able to attack into something to pay 6 mana for another 3/4 flyer. It's paying 12 mana for 2 bodies over 2 turns, which I just don't think is very good. I just think inherently what it's doing when it's successful is also not good.
Are we getting tempoed out in this format a lot? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I just haven't had like that experience a ton.
This format, based on the stats, is the fastest format we've had on Arena.
But yeah, a lot.
I think it depends on your deck. Like, certainly there are, I'm not going to argue that you can't get tempoed out and you don't get tempoed out. You definitely do. But I think it's specifically like a black-white deck. The games are set up. Like, I think if there is a place for Squadron, like, it's probably in a black-white deck rather than like a red-white aggro deck where you are like gumming up the ground and you can like make some material where your opponent doesn't have great attack. So like, I think it's reasonable to take this here over the Manticore. My big argument would be what Michael said, where it's just like a medium 4-drop over a medium.
My thinking is also if my draft goes well, I don't play either of these.
Yeah, Sure, that's fair. But I mean, if that's the sense, if that's the case, then you want to optimize for the times when your draft doesn't go well. And I think even then, Manticore is a little bit better. One reason Rabble Rouser, Matt says, one reason Rabble Rouser is so appealing is it's great defending off the aggro starts. Yeah, totally. 1-3, 1-3 that threatens to be 2-3. That's just good. You know. We take a Armor Shadows, which has been like not the worst card, honestly. It's reasonable. Chain Devil is a card that, again, not the worst card. I've played this card in my black-white decks sometimes. Ooh, here's an interesting pick. Okay, so Black Dragon versus Unicorn.
Oh, I love this.
Versus Vladimir with a.
It was really Black Dragon versus Unicorn.
Totally, yeah.
And yeah, I stand by this. I think this was a correct pick.
Interesting. Well, what are your thoughts here?
Unicorn is really good. I haven't seen one. I want one. Black Dragon is a 7-mana card. Yeah, it's good, but also it's, I really value having enough cheap stuff in this format, and Unicorn is one of the best cheap cards you can get.
Yeah, I buy that. I guess my thought is that, so Black and White, one of the strengths of Black and White is they do have an abundance of good cheap stuff. So I'm actually not too worried about that. And again, and maybe I'm just seeing this draft a little bit differently, but we've got a bunch of things already that like come up the ground and also help us hit our land drops or make treasure. I think Black Dragon, if you look at the stats, is better than Unicorn too. So
I think they're quite close.
They're quite close, yeah, fair.
They're very close.
I mean, I don't know. I just think that
I think also that Unicorn, if you have a bunch of stuff that gums up the ground, Unicorn is great. Unicorn turns your stuff that gums up the ground into a way to end a game.
Yeah, you definitely make a good point there. My argument is gums up the ground. What card is good in a gummed up ground situation? They're both pretty good there. I'm just gonna do a quick. I just want to check the numbers on this one actually.
It might make sense to check it in black white specifically.
Yep, I agree.
Somewhere.
It's interesting that if you guys take the Black Dragon here, we don't see it, and if we see the Unicorn instead, we're like thrilled.
Unicorn is 60.
Yeah, we would have loved that Unicorn.
Unicorn has substantially higher win rate in black white than Dragon.
Well then, all right. Well, I have been the stats have proved me wrong here. All right, that's fair.
2% higher. But anyway, I think it's those two. Vladimir and Godfrey is just not like.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Even when my opponent has had a 1/1 on the battlefield, I have not found this card to be very good.
Also, I will say Vladimir and Godfrey is a black card.
It's a zombie knight.
Make this card black. Does it not make more sense?
Well, white things come back from the graveyard, but also I guess there's not that many white zombies. So we take a paladin here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All I'm interested in is asking people whether they're more of a Vladimir or more of a Godfrey.
I think they'd be black with a white activation cost.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But yeah,
just from having just played through like Curse of Strahd, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly the.
Emoan kind of jumps out.
I think it's interesting, but
no, I know you just take Paladin. I would take it if Paladin wasn't here, but
yeah, good 2-drop.
Take an Imp over a Pilgrim's Eye.
Imp ain't easy.
Yeah, Imp's easy.
All right, here for an Imp.
Take a Vampire Spawn over a Ghoul.
Yeah, I mean, I figured Spawn is just a better card than Ghoul, I think.
Take some gems here.
Yeah, and again, because this is the pack you guys opened, and after having seen it, we were like, okay, well, we got a late Vampire Spawn. Is it possible we're getting cut? Well, we'll see. It could just be a bad pack. I think that was the exact conversation we had.
Yeah, this is the teamer pack, right? That you guys opened.
Yeah.
And here's where it's like, all right, well, we take Linarm, maybe we spawn.
Yeah, just took the Linarm over, not a lot.
Maybe we end up in black green because honestly, we don't have that many white cards. Take a spawn. Take a paladin. All right, that solidifies this a little more. Take a band together in that case of yard green. Yeah, take a hill giant. All right.
Yeah, and feeling pretty good about how this draft is going.
Just a question: if we'd had the disputes from earlier, would we have considered the provocation?
Let's see.
I mean, I feel like I want ghouls really to do that. But...
Yeah, I think so too. I've been low on.
Costing 6 is a lot.
Yeah, I've been low on provocation without having ghouls. I think that exactly, having like 6 to steal and sack has been not amazing.
6 is a lot more than I think with whatchamacallit Price of Loyalty you needed 5, which is a lot less than 6, and sometimes Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of what do you call it? I'm thinking of the one from SNC that makes a treasure.
Yeah, yeah.
But even then,
Oh,
you
yeah,
just
sure,
need,
sure.
you need five.
Yeah,
You need
the
five.
treasure comes in the wrong order if you're doing
Yeah.
steal and sack with dispute. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets a little bit better when you have Shambling Ghast and your Pilgrim's Eye and all that to make sure that your plan is just to get to a bunch of mana and cast the Black Dragon, do some steal and sack stuff. But that's not really what we're deck's doing right now.
Yeah, we also did not see a single ghast this whole draft. Did you guys? I don't think you guys saw one either.
I don't think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Matt
it was
also
a
makes
weird draft.
Matt makes a good point here too. That most of the creatures that are killing you are small. So like stealing and sacking them is not the biggest tempo blow up by any means.
Yeah. I guess.
And when they are big, like the opponent has Myconids and just chump blocks.
Yep.
And yeah, even then, yeah. I guess the one good thing is stealing their Linorm and sacking it
That
specifically.
is very good. Yes.
Yeah,
It's like the one place where you really are happy.
Is it Hippogriff?
Yeah, it was. Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, you're sorry.
Cool.
There.
Yeah.
Was there somebody? Sorry, I thought I heard somebody.
Oh, just I've had a dedicated steal and sack deck with like 5 deadly disputes, a couple of like 2 merchants and a couple of ghouls and like 3 provocations. And usually you just take whatever creature they have and you're not really getting them most of the time. You're just like, I'm killing one of your things and I'm drawing some cards, and that's all you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not necessarily about like killing them. It's taking their best creature and killing it with person value.
This was a pick.
Yeah, obviously this is a really good pack.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, it's either Guildsworn Prowler or Grim Bounty. We don't actually really have any removal, so I guess I'm gonna value the first Grim Bounty over the second Prowler.
Saravok, also very good. That card.
I think it is.
It's worse than these cards.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
worse,
It is definitely the third choice.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue that this is better by any means, but I did.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It gets pretty good with some like lifelinkers and like some dorky stuff, and especially if you're trading a bunch. It's a good card, but I wouldn't consider it over these two.
Yeah.
And
So-
I agree with first interaction spell here.
Yeah, I went with first Grim Bounty, which, as you'll see, is,
Rewarded.
yeah,
We get another one here, or another.
yeah. This run really is. Just
Wow.
All right, so we get that.
Then we get another Grim Bounty, great. Hippogriff, great. Like Sewer Plague, pretty good here. Another Sewer Plague, pretty good here. We can. I think this is the point where we put the portable hole in the sideboard.
Right.
Black Dragon comes all the way to this seat, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, which is weird. Which basically means that the black drafters were all the people. Basically, the 3 people to my left.
Yep.
The 3 people to our left were black, I guess.
Yep. That's what happened.
I guess they got into black in pack 2 because we got floated like a 7th pick vampire spawn.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I guess might just be people not realizing that's a good card still.
I think, probably.
Could be.
Yeah. Actually, I like had to like I don't know. It's a lot of people when they like are picking up limited like good constructed players. Like I basically got into like an argument with Chris Patello and his whole chat about whether Vampire Spawn is a card you want to put into a deck.
Oh, really? And that was, I imagine they were on the no side because you were probably on the yes side.
They were like, "Oh, why would you put this in your card?" Oh, it's like, I guess it's good with your Celestial Unicorns. It's like, no, unicorn play the Spawn. This is just a good card.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was watching Chris play some. He was doing a bunch of sealed, and it's very funny watching a mostly constructive player navigate limit. I mean, he's by no means a croquis. You know what I mean? Like he knows his way around.
No. He knows how to play limited. Like,
it's still
also he hasn't been a really good invested limited player for a number of years.
Yes.
So his sense of like his sense of like the scale and speed of what's happening in limited is not necessarily the most up to date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's very old school. Well, it's like just doing damage to the face, and I'm getting a little bit of health, right? Like, how could that be good, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Oh, it's good.
It's good. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you want it?
Eldritch Pack. Oh, damn. Wheeling Eldritch.
Yeah, like I said, like that was the one where there were like a million good black cards.
Yeah.
And
So your side of the draft here much easier than this deck.
Yeah, and then if you go to deck one, you can see I don't know what's going on there. Oh, it decided that it hates doubles in some situations, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, 17 Lance has gotten a little wonky with all the alchemy stuff. I could see not even playing a Linorm, I guess, but then I think there's like there's like one crappy card we'd have to put in, like a Manticore or something.
Yeah.
I would just play it. Yeah, I think it's good enough.
Yeah.
But
I just one thing I don't like is having to put a forest in the deck.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. It's not ideal. And then so we had kind of a funny build here. This is where we ended up with the red black.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we're like kind of splish splashy. We've got 5 sources. We've got the Pilgrim's Eye. We've got this. So we're actually like not that bad on casting our good cards. So actually, honestly,
it
looks okay. It doesn't look too bad looking at it again.
It's struggling a bit. I can definitely see this deck having some issues where
Totally
you draw 1 or 2 of your cheap cards and all your top end, and then you just sort of like wind up falling behind, gassing out a little bit, just getting stuck with like something big in hand that you can't do much
I wish
with.
I were playing. So I've been playing more best of 3 lately, and I wish I were playing this in best of 3 rather than best of.
Yes.
If they feel like they'd have a better odds there.
Yeah,
I think so too.
the one thing is like the Iron Golem is very awkward.
It stands out for sure.
Well, there used to be 2 of them in there.
You can try the old Jason special over here. It's good with.
I should post that. Hold on, I'm gonna find my Mirror of Life trapping game.
All right,
Alex, I showed you it a while ago.
Oh yes, I do remember that. Okay, so I mean, I hope this is helpful. I mean, I think we had a lot of good conversations here.
The Zach's draft more than mine, I think, was very interesting. A lot of close picks, a lot of interesting decision points that could have shaped it.
Well, even in yours though, like I think it was the like yes, it was very clear. Okay, we're supposed to be in this lane, but just do we want card A that's like very good or card B that's very good, and that's all interesting stuff too.
I do wish that I had an extra. Honestly, if I had a Deadly Dispute instead of a Pilgrim's Eye, we could play 9-8 and have a somewhat better mana base while still splashing the Lidarm. So I do think that like that was just like in terms of how it wound up, I think that my thinking at the time was like reasonable, but I don't know that I would make that decision again. Pilgrim's Eye has kind of not been as good as one would hope. I don't know. I guess it's never been like an exceptional card. It's kind of interesting. It's like people seem to win a lot when they have it in their deck, but win less when they draw it, which makes me think that it's just good players put it in their deck.
Valued by good players,
yeah.
That could make sense.
I've killed people with it by making it a 7-1 or using Kalain to make it a 4-4. So that's kind of skewed how I value it.
I've done the same,
I've gone what's that the uncommon red deal for?
You can
if it's
a 2-drop like a 4-1 flyer really, really good, just because all of a sudden that makes your 1-1 into something that they really need to figure out a solution for, because they'll just kill them.
Totally. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, let's pack it up from here. I will post this video later today.
I'll let everybody know how it turns out.
Yes.
I might stream it on your Discord. The game.
Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, no worries.
Not right away. A bit later, but yeah, I think I'll just stream it on your Discord, just because I drafted it.
Do it. Yeah. Matt, thank you so much, Matt. Don't worry about the mic issues. You're free to join us anytime, even with mic issues. Appreciate everybody else being here, of course, and we'll kind of feel out what the next few weeks entail for us. I know the competitive events next week and the one after, so that might be a little bit tricky for people scheduling. We might hold it off till the week after and not maybe do maybe we'll do this format, maybe we'll do a generic one, but like I said, we'll just feel it out. Let me know if you have anything in mind that you'd like to go over for the next class, and we'll just call it a day. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.